Fantastic. Welcome, Michael Campbell. It's probably a name that needs little by way of introduction. However, I would like to add New Zealand Open champion 2000 here at Paraparaumu Beach, and of course 2005 US Open champion at Pinehurst. So it's great to have you with us here today, Michael, and thanks very much for making the time to share your story, I guess, with our members during lockdown.
Yeah, thanks, Leo. Yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing my memories with the fellow members.
So we are in lockdown here in New Zealand. We have been for coming up almost 4 weeks. I know the coronavirus has hit Spain pretty hard prior to us. What's the situation with you over there at the moment?
Well, I'm not too bad down this way. I'm down south in Andalusia, which is right on the very bottom of Spain, whereas most of the cases are up in Barcelona and also Madrid. And I think it's 5% of cases and deaths are here in Andalusia. So we're pretty lucky in that sort of sense. Obviously, it's a very difficult time for everyone right now. We've been in lockdown too for the last 5 weeks. Golf course has been closed for like 6 weeks, and we've got another 4 weeks until it's going to get revised again, whether we can go out. I mean, they're very strict, very, very strict here. I've been stopped probably 5 or 6 times the last 10 days by police. The proof of purchase of groceries, or the pharmacist, or going to the vet for pet food, things like that. So they're very, very strict here. And even walking the dogs now, you can only have 1 dog per person. And if you get caught, that means it's €600 fine, which is like $1,000 New Zealand. So they're very, very strict here. It's just fair enough too. I mean, what the whole world's going through right now is obviously difficult for everybody, really, and especially obviously I'm thinking about my home country as well. New Zealand, my mum and dad and my sister and my nephews and my family and friends there too. So it's I'm sure there'll be light into the tunnel. You could say that the world's been put on pause. It's been paused a little bit, and obviously everyone's suffering right now in many different ways. But hopefully we'll get through it and come out better at the other end.
I guess being in lockdown, we're taking the opportunity with these interviews to connect with our members and friends of Paraparaumu Beach. But it's also a great opportunity for us to reconnect with those people that have had a special place in the hearts of Paraparaumu Beach through their achievements and little moments that they've had on our course. So during the course of this interview, we're obviously going to step through a few of those things. Apologies in advance, Michael. You've had a relatively extensive career, so if I brush over certain aspects of it, it's just because I want to spend a little bit more time on other aspects of it.
Sure, absolutely, no problem.
So you're in relative terms to Paraparaumu Beach, you're effectively a local boy. You grew up down the road in Titahi. You must have played Paraparaumu a fair bit during those early days.
Yeah. I recall my first game there was when I was 13, 14. I think it was in the Watt Cup, where the juniors used to play against each other around the Wellington region. And in your team, and Paraparaumu team, was Paul Davenport, Kirk Michelson. So I remember just those days where I went to the golf course for the very first time, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's definitely in my top 10 of my favourites in the world, because of obvious reasons. It's only 20 minutes from Titahi Bay. I won the New Zealand Open there in 2000. And, I just think the way it's designed, I love the links. I love links. It's just a beautiful looking golf course, before and after the trees, we knocked all the trees down. And, my favourite golf course in the world is St Andrews. So, and then Carnoustie and also Muirfield. So I'm a rural leagues person, being brought up in windy Wellington, you could say I got to move the ball around a lot. That was my natural way of playing, really, is all different shapes and different heights and stuff like that. So that's why I think I tend towards links golf, because you've got to use your imagination. I mean, I played in I don't know, 12, 13 opens. And I'd love it there. I mean, I came close to winning it a couple of times in 95 and I think 2005. So, it's always been my favourite major to play. And I think Paraparaumu is a true reflection on how we need to have all your faculties, all your different departments of your game, you know, to have a good chance of winning there. And I managed to do it in 2000.
What got you into golf?
Oh, it was my dad. I remember we moved from Porirua to Titahi Bay when I was about 8, 9 years old. And my next door neighbour, Frank Reedy, he introduced golf to Dad. And then Dad used to pull me out this early winter morning, 7:30 in the morning, tea time. You know, I used to caddy for him. I hated it. I completely hated the game because, you know, it was cold, it was miserable. I found it boring for old men. So the stigma of golf back in those days, it's changed now, but back in those days, it was like for, you know, old men, basically.
Yep.
And it just, you know, because I had other sports I was playing. Rugby wasn't my main passion. I played rugby for 10 years. I played softball. I played tennis. I played about 5 different sports. And golf was the least of my interest, really, to be honest with you. But then I knew I wasn't big enough, fast enough, strong enough to be a rugby player, to be an All Black. So I gave it away. And then my parents said to me, Michael, you got to focus on at least 2 sports here, because they felt like taxi drivers. So, you know, every day there was a practice after school. Then on the weekend you're competing. You know, you're playing as a team or as an individual. So they said, Michael, just choose 2. And I chose golf and softball. And that's what started. And I remember my father, because he's left-handed, he cut me down a little 6-iron, left-handed 6-iron. So I used to put that in the golf bag when I used to caddy for him and just swing it around left-handed. And I thought, oh, this is pretty good. I like this game. And all of a sudden, it just grew on me very, very quickly.
Right.
And but then after about 6 months of swinging left-handed, I swapped over to right-handed. I felt more natural, more comfortable with right-handed rather than left-handed. And then, you know, the rest is history, really. Because I remember, and then my whole mindset changed about golf completely. I remember the first day of college. You know, you had to stand in front of the class and in front of your new classmates and say, hi, my name's Michael Campbell. My father is Tom. My mother is Maria. And then you had to say what you want to do in the future. You know, and I said, I want to be a golf professional when I was 13. And for a little Māori boy from Titahi Bay to say that in front of all these, you know, 30 kids was very unusual. They actually laughed at me, of course. They said, no way. No. Golf was so far away from their thoughts about, you know, as a career. But to me, it felt possible. Then my dad really pushed the issue of, not pushed really, he made me watch Augusta, you know, and the Opens as well. And that really inspired me, really, to see, you know, like back in those days, it was Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player, watching those guys play Augusta. I said to myself, I'd love to play there one day. And I did. I have played probably about 15, 16 times in Augusta. So, you know, from the very beginning, since I was 13, I always wanted to turn pro. And that stuck with me for a very long time. And yeah, and so that's how it all started.
So how quickly did you progress as a youngster? Like, where did you start out handicap-wise, and how quickly did you get down into a position where you actually thought, hey, I'm actually living the dream here?
Well, the thing is, it's quite strange because I was my first handicap when I was 13 was 33. When I was 16, my handicap was 5. So I was, you could say, a late developer, because all my friends were like scratch or 1. And I was like way behind. But I was a short, skinny little runt then. But then I put on a bit of weight, bit of muscle. And then 2 years later, I was off +2. So from the age of 15 or 16 to 18, I jumped from handicap of 5 to +2 very, very quickly. And then I made the Wellington under-18 team, then the senior team, Wellington senior team. Then made New Zealand junior team. Then made New Zealand men's team. So it was a natural progression, but it happened very quickly. For the space of 3 years, I went from being unheard of in New Zealand, 18 years old, to pretty much winning everything. I won the I can't remember what I won, but the North Island Boys Championship. I won the Australian Amateur Championship, New South Wales Amateur Championship. It just happened very, very quickly. And then I made the
just coming back to the Wellington side, would you have played with Lance Phelps in those days? Was Lance in the Wellington side?
Of course,
Phelpsy,
yeah. What a legend!
Give me a Phelpsy story. I mean, yeah, he's an absolute
there's
legend.
so many. There's so many. He was just a big man, as you know, big hands, but an incredible touch. Amazing, just natural golfer. His short game was phenomenal. I mean, things he could do with the golf ball was just incredible, and I love watching him play.
Yeah.
A Phelpsy story. Oh my goodness, there's so many. Probably not. I can't repeat many of them, but it was a lot of fun. On the team, he was on my team as well, the Wellington senior team, and we had a lot of trips away together around New Zealand. It was a ton of fun with Phelpsy on the team.
Yeah, good. Well, of course, the New Zealand Open was a reasonably regular fixture at Paraparaumu through the 80s, 90s, and into the
80s.
early 2000s. When did you first play at a New Zealand Open? Were you in the 88 one or the 89 one?
88 was my first one.
Yeah,
my first one. I'll never forget, it was my first New Zealand Open at Paraparaumu. I knew the golf course very well, but I was very, very nervous, obviously. Still an amateur. I think I was 19 years old then, or maybe 18 years old. And I'll never forget my first round. It was phenomenal, in a good and a bad way. The first hole I lost a ball, hit it way left into big, thick stuff. Lost ball. So I made 5 with my second ball. And then I got to number 11, and I made 11 on 11.
Yeah.
And I shot one over.
Yeah, so after you shot that 11, you then went on an incredible birdie run, I think, to finish out over the next.
Yeah, I had eagles and birdies and stuff like that. So that was my first introduction to New Zealand Open, which is a pretty good start, I think, anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. And of course, you were rubbing shoulders. You were coming through in a fairly good click at that stage. You had a lot of great players around you. There was a lot of young New Zealanders. I guess you were testing each other and both on and off the course, I assume. Move forward now to 1992, which you just touched on just earlier. I mean, yes, you won the Australian Amateur at Royal Adelaide nonetheless, and the first Kiwi to do it, which must have been incredibly special.
Yeah, it was. That's when I kind of realised that, hey, something's happening here. Something special's happening. I just had this momentum. I just won something before then, I think 2 weeks before, can't remember what it was. It's you're going back a long time here. Yeah. So I can't remember every amateur tournament I've won, but I won so I was on a nice little run. And then I made the New Zealand team for the Eisenhower Trophy, and the other 3 guys was Philip Titahi and Graham Moorhead and Stephen Scarhill. And I remember going to Canada and Vancouver, and we're playing pretty well. And I never forget the final round, we managed to play well. And the final round was drawn with America. And I was playing with Dave Duval. And after 9 holes, we're six shots behind America. And we end up winning by 3 or 4. So it's a 10-shot swing. It was incredible. The way the guys played we all played the last 9 holes was just phenomenal. So, I think Phil won the first. He came first in individual. I came second in individual, so that kind of helped. But he had 2 guys like Grant and Stephen who played solid golf, And I'll never forget, in the prize giving was delayed for an hour because all they had was the national anthem of America, not New Zealand, because they were thinking that America's going to win. You see, so we're standing there at the podium waiting for like an hour, 45 minutes, because someone had to rush down from one of the officials had to rush down to the nearest consulate or embassy in New Zealand and get a national anthem theme. So that's quite a funny story.
Yeah. So, hey, Neil Woodbury, I think you know Neil Woodbury, who's obviously he was heavily involved in New Zealand golf and is a member at our club now. He shared a book that Grant Clements wrote when he was diagnosed with his terminal illness. And it was a book he wrote just for very close family and the occasional friend. It's an amazing read. I mean, obviously he was a very visionary thinker. He obviously put a plan in place well in advance. of the culmination of winning the Eisenhower. Tell us a little bit about Grant. Obviously, he was taken way too soon, but he just
Absolutely, yeah. I remember meeting Grant for the first time when I made the junior team, New Zealand junior team, and he came across very visionary, as you said before. He had some wonderful ideas. I remember I just missed out making the team back in '88 in Shirley in Christchurch, and he put together this plan to win it in 1992. And he got some funding for us to travel around the world, get more experience, got all these things together, all the very important components to win a world championship. And without his drive, his passion for the game, with combination of other people too, but Grant was definitely the guy who instigated the whole thing, and his dream came true. I mean, we were out there playing. Yeah, there's 4 guys out there playing for your country, but without all the hard work behind us, it wouldn't be there in the first place. So with I know Woody very, very well. Over the years, he's a good lad. We had some laughs together, and we had a great manager too, Roger Bernand. Roger Bernand was a great manager. So we had a really, you got to understand that golf is an individual sport, but you need a team around you. You need a great team around you. We had a great team. I had my coach, Mel Tung at the time. He coached myself and Stephen Scarhill. And then Phil had his own coach, sort of Grant his own coach. But we got together as many times as we could before we went to Vancouver. We played together a lot before we went there. We traveled a lot around the world together. So we got this nice camaraderie going between us. And without, Grant's vision of winning in '92, it wouldn't even happen. So he's got a huge part of it, of our success back in those days.
Yeah. And it was nice to see him rewarded there when you returned to New Zealand. The team, I think, won the Hellberg for Team of the Year, but yeah, Grant Clements won the Administrator of the Year, which was an incredible achievement for a sport like golf. So it was nice to see him get rewarded with that. So you're on the world stage. You're obviously playing. You said against the Americans and the likes of David Devell that would go on to great success himself. You obviously felt at that stage that you could compete, and you duly turned professional.
Yeah, well, I just thought that you can't go any further, can you? I mean, you're winning the World Championship and finishing second individual. That's pretty much the pinnacle of amateur golf. So I thought next natural step, obvious step, is to turn pro. So I did. I think 4 or 5 months later, after we won it. 93 was my first year as a pro.
93. Yeah, I mean, you had immediate success. You went over to Australia in the Cannon Challenge. I think it was at Terry Hills.
I think exactly. I think my first pro event I finished 7th. My second one I finished 2nd.
Right.
And my 4th one I won. So it was like, this pro game is easy, but it wasn't. Trust me. I just once again going on a nice little run. That's why I play golf. Every time I go on a nice little run, I go with it for like 4 or 5 months, and it slips away a little bit, my form, it comes back again. And I had a nice little run there in Australia, winning my first one, as you said, in Terry Hills there. No, it wasn't Terry Hills. I can't remember where. In Sydney somewhere. And it was like, okay, what's the next step? Well, next step is go to Europe. And I got my ass kicked there. Ooh, and I went from, back in those days, 93, 94, it was Norman, Ballesteros, Woosnam, Langer, Montgomery, Torrance, Lyle. These guys were just world-class players. And I went over there. I must say I was a little bit overconfident, being young. I was 23, 22 years old. I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof, but I certainly got deflated very, very quickly. And I thought, okay, I need to work hard on my game now.
Yeah. So move forward a year, and it's 1995, and you find yourself teeing it up at St Andrews. I was fortunate. I lived in St Andrews for a little bit, and I got to play the old course. And I have to say, standing on that first tee would probably be the most daunting tee shot one ever has to make. And it's not for the fact that it's narrow, because you've got about 300 meters, width out there in front of you, but you've got 300 years of tradition sitting right behind you with the R&A. And And in my case, there's always tourists around that first tee, so it's quite daunting getting that first ball away. But here goes a young boy from Titahi Bay, teeing it up in the British Open or the Open Championship, and obviously significantly more crowd and significantly better golfers. Talk us through that whole experience there in '95.
Yeah, well, once again, I came up a good week before. I finished, I think, second or third in the Scottish Open. I was playing well. And then I remember the first 2 rounds, played in tough conditions. Shot, I can't remember what I shot, maybe one under or 2 under. I can't remember. Anyway, I made the cut of like 40th. No, I don't know. Anyway, whatever it was. And in the third round, it was blowing about 25 knots, right? I'm playing with Brett Ogle. And I played the best round of golf of my life on that day.
Yeah.
I shot 65, and the average score that day was 76.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was just a phenomenal, and I missed a short putt on the last hole. I was very, very angry about it. It could have been a 64.
I guess for a lot of us watching, one of those memories that's forever etched in my mind is the road hole bunker, which you got yourself into, and then like unbelievably got yourself out in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I played with Craig Parry in the practice round. He said to me, Michael, during the course of the week, you'll find yourself in this bunker, so practice from it. And I said, okay. So I'm trying. He goes, no, you got to do this, mate. You got to use your hands, click it more, and all that sort of stuff. So when I got into that situation on the road hole bunker on 17 in the third round, I was faced with this bunker shot. But I felt very confident because I played before with my mate Craig Parry in the practice round. He taught me how to play it. Yeah. So it went up to about a foot. So that was, because it could have been a 9 easily, because it was very, very close to the. And now they've actually lowered the bunker. Whereas back in '95, I saw a picture of myself, and it's like, taller than me nearly. But now they've lowered it, the lip, because it's getting too hard. Because remember, don't forget, over the years, as you know, the sand accumulates on the top of on the lip there. So they shaved it down a little bit more now. But it was an incredible shot. And then the last day, big mistake. I want to share with you a story. Yeah. Last day, I stayed in Dundee, right, which is like an hour with traffic from St Andrews, just over the bridge. And my management group, IMG, organised a helicopter into St Andrews on the final day. Big mistake. So I said, okay, that's cool. And so went at the helipad there in Dundee. Half an hour, 45 minutes, hasn't turned up. I'm teeing off in 45 minutes. So it turns up, and we, it's only like a 5-minute chopper ride, 10-minute chopper ride over to St Andrews. We get to the other side of the helipad, and still got another 10 minutes to the golf course because of the traffic, right? So I said to the van driver at the time, I said, man, you just got to go. I mean, go the wrong side of the road or whatever. So I remember rushing to the driving range. I had 15 minutes warming up, rushing to because as you know, the driving range in the first tee is like another 5-minute drive.
Miles away.
So it was an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. So I'm getting the first tee now. I'm leading a major, and I've just been messed around, and I've hardly warmed up. I'm standing on the first tee thinking, holy smoke, this is going to be really, really hard now. So my advice to all you golfers out there, don't change your routine if it's working. It was my fault. I was easily impressed, by this helicopter ride into the final day of a major, and I was young and blue, obviously, or green, sorry. And it was a big mistake. But anyway, I enjoyed the round, had a chance to win, and once again, I think John Daly won playoff against Rucker. So, but playing the final group in a major it's so cool. It's so cool because I remember walking down the 18th fairway there, and all the people behind you are roped off and walking with you down the last hole, and the grandstands on both sides are jam packed. These 60,000 people there. Yeah. It's just a wonderful experience. But I knew on that first tee that I wasn't going to win.
Okay.
First of all, was the preparation beforehand was stupid, and the second thing was I wasn't ready. You know, it was my first full year on the European tour, and I'm my second year or third year as a pro. You know, I had no experience mentally. I had the game for it, yeah. You know, golf wise, but not the brain for it. So
it's interesting you talk about the helicopter coming in, because I've read Mel Tung's book, and he speaks about the helicopter as well. And you know, obviously John Daly won the event, and he goes back to the Old Course Hotel and eats chocolate ice cream allegedly out of the claret jug. And in Mel's book, he says that you took a taxi home to Dundee, and you found yourself in a fish and chip shop, just yourself and Mel, and I think maybe Marcus Wheelhouse, and it was just, you know, one moment you've been helicoptered, and the next moment you're eating fish and chips.
Yeah, I mean, see, but you got to realize I'm a very humble guy. I mean, I didn't really need that chopper ride, but I was impressed, and you know, the circumstances. But I remember the ride back. It was a transit van. There was Mel was there, my father was there, Marcus Woodhouse was there, and Jonathan Yelwood was there. So we were just kind of like stunned mullets. You know, what has gone on? You know, I was happy but sad. You know, I was elated but really angry with myself. So very mixed emotions in that transit van. But I said to the boys, look, I'm hungry. Let's go to a local fish and chip shop. So we turned up there. I'm still in my golf gear, right? And I'm ordering the fish and chips, and people just looking at me, thinking, "What are you doing there?" I said, "I'm hungry, man." So I was taking photos, not cameras, not with phones back in those days. Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
So that was the trip back home, but it was still a lot of fun.
So you've gone from almost like, I think you used the word, the elation of being in the final round of the Open Championship, and then I guess your game went through a relatively quiet period following that, and then along comes 1999, and I guess 99 to 2002 you have another one of those periods that you described earlier where you got it incredibly hot. You won the Johnny Walker Classic, you won the Heineken Classic a few times during that era, but I guess now that the event I want to focus on is, of course, back here at Paraparaumu Beach, the spiritual home of New Zealand golf.
Absolutely.
Where you were teeing it up in another New Zealand Open. So I know it was 20 years ago, Michael, but it is an event that you won, and I hope it's still dear to your heart. Give us some thoughts. Give us some thoughts leading into the event, and you were coming off some success, like I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, once again on this run of momentum. I just won, I think, the Johnny Walker Classic. Just beat Tiger by a couple of shots there, which gave me a lot of confidence. Yep. I think, and then I played New Zealand Open. So once again, I was going into that event full of confidence. Just beat Tiger. That's pretty damn good. So, I really can't remember the first 3 rounds, but I can remember the last probably 7 holes, where birdie pretty much most of them.
So Craig Perks leads going into the last round, and I think he'd been away at university and perhaps playing his golf outside of the country. So I was at the 2000 event, and again, it's another one of those moments that will be etched in my mind forever. You stand up on the 12th tee, and you go on one of these runs that only Michael Campbell can go on, and you birdie 5 out of the last 7 holes to be the clubhouse leader, and all of a sudden Craig, who's gone from looking relatively comfortable, is now chasing you to make that playoff. Talk us through those holes. I mean, you sunk some bombs. I remember the one on 13. I've got the pin placement sheet. It was right up the heart of the green. 15 was another one. It was about a 20-meter putt. They were big putts.
Well, Leo, I mean, thanks for reminding me. I remember the one on 15, that's for sure. That was a massive putt. The pin was back left, I think it was.
Back left, yep.
I was front. I was front.
Yep.
And it was going in hard too, wasn't it? It was going pretty hard. I think
13 was going in hard as well.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where things fell my way. As I said before, to win a golf tournament, any golf tournament, whether it's a major or particularly a major, but in a regular event, you need a lot of things go your way, like your bounces. Things like if I missed that putt on 15, it would have been like probably 5 foot past, and one of 3 putted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just don't know, do you?
So yeah, I mean, you make the playoff with Craig, and in those days it was play the 18th. So you go back
Yes,
to
right.
the 18th, and you talk us through the play. Can you remember the playoff? You're both you're both birdie the first with fours.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
remember. Oh, yeah. Now I remember the second playoff one. Yeah, I had a really nice shot off a side hill lie. It was a horrible lie. Down. I had a 4-iron second shot, and it was downhill, ball below my feet, and I hit this little bullet to probably about 15, 20 feet maybe, and hold it for eagle. I think. Is that right?
Hold it for eagle. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the end, you had 2 playoff holes and 1 regular hole. You went birdie, eagle after birding 5 of the last 7 holes. I mean, it was possibly the greatest live golf I've seen, and it was an absolute privilege to actually be there and see it go in. So something, like I said, etched in my memory.
Well, can I say something, Leo?
Yeah,
I've won, I think, 15 times around the world, or 16 times around the world. And obviously, my number one favorite one is the major US Open. Second one, definitely New Zealand Open. I mean, to win close to my second home golf course, I was brought up playing golf at Paraparaumu and winning in front of my family, my friends. That's definitely what I think. Emotionally, it's number one.
Yeah.
But obviously the US Open is even more special.
Actually, I spoke to Michael Long this morning, and he actually spoke about the emotion that hit him when he played his final shot to the 18th green, and he allowed himself to relax and enjoy. And he said, he was playing around the world as well, and he hadn't quite felt or realised what that home crowd would feel like until he struck that shot on and was able to enjoy the.
It's hard to explain as a player because yes, you're there experiencing and soaking up all the atmosphere of your home countrymen supporting you, and it just adds a new dimension to your game. This is what Tiger feeds off. That's all the best players feed off. The adulation and the applause from the crowd gets you going. It's that adrenaline rush, and that's what it is. I mean, I remember as you witnessed before, I can't remember that, but because I was so into the whole final round, I can't remember half my shots because it's just the way I operate sometimes, And but one needs some sort of jolting or poke, and it kind of brings back all the memories, emotions.
A rather generous person has somehow taken it off a VCR and has put it up on YouTube. So I'll send that link to you.
Oh, really?
Following the interview.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bootleg.
Yes,
it's a bit of a bootleg copy, but you'll see some of those things I've just discussed. Yeah.
Oh, great! Yeah, fantastic.
Hey, so move forward to 2002. The Open's back at Paraparaumu Beach, and I guess it's known as the Tiger Open, even though Tiger finished 5th or 6th, I think. There was a lot of fanfare around. I mean, the level of everything, I guess, went up a notch. But there was Michael Campbell again, there and thereabouts, as you were so often in New Zealand Opens, coming down the stretch. How's your memory going on 2002?
Well, mate, come on. No, you're really testing it. I think I heard it. Did Craig Parry win that?
Craig Parry won it on 17 again. You had a...
oh, yeah, I had a short... Yeah, I missed a short par putt, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then, I 3-putted from about 3 feet.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
And then, but I remember my second shot into the last hole was about 15 feet for eagle.
Oh, gave it a great chance. Yeah, to make the playoff.
Yeah. So I was pretty disappointed with that. Not to win it twice because winning the Open a home championship is definitely thing you can't really describe how good it feels.
Yep. So let's talk about 2005 now. Your game was possibly not quite at the level that you'd wanted it to be for a couple of years prior. You started that season missing the first 5 cuts. You had to go to a regional, a qualifying for the US Open. You made a birdie putt on the last, and all of a sudden you're off to Pinehurst.
Well, once again, it's amazing because I look at missing those first 5 cuts in a row as a blessing in disguise.
Yep.
You know, you can look at it 2 different ways. When I'm faced with adversity, I try and use that to become a better player. So, yes, you're right. First 5 weeks, missed the cut. I said to my coach, I have to come and see you, mate. This is ridiculous. You know, I'm shooting 80s. And so I went to America for 4 weeks and with Jonathan. And we found this golden nugget, this swing thought. And all of a sudden, it was like, wow, this is cool. I can't remember what it was. Something to do with my backswing. It'll come to me. So I go back to Europe, finish top 10, you know, after missing 5 cuts in a row, then top 5. Then I think another top 5. I finished like 3rd at the BMW Championship at Wentworth. So I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. So I finished 10th the next week. So a nice little run. Once again, I'm in this little run of you know, doing all these wonderful things. And so it was the first time the USGA had an international qualifying ever. And lucky enough, it was only about 45-minute drive from my house, from Brighton in London. So I get there at 7:30 in the morning. I'm paired with Steve Webster. You know, I'm going and playing. And after the first round, we knew that -4 was going to make the cut. So we both, I'll never forget this, playing the last hole, both 3 under, playing the last hole. And Webby hits it to like 10 feet. I hit it to like 9 feet on the same line as him. I had to move my marker, right? Yeah. So he aims right edge, he misses. I move my marker back and aimed inside right and hold the putt. And I was the last person to qualify.
Right.
So once again, you know, things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I missed those 5 cuts in a row. I had to work on my game more. You know, there's a reason why that I hit to 9 feet inside Steve Webster. It's kind of spooky, but that's the way it is. So yeah, anyway, so fast forward, I go to America, feeling pretty good about myself, but my game, my ball striking was fantastic, but my putting was a little bit iffy. So Monday, I decided to get a belly putter because I was so desperate. My putting was, it's okay, but it wasn't good enough to win a tournament.
Yep.
So I got a belly putter, and my coach, Jonathan, turns up, right? He goes, "What the hell are you doing there, Michael?" He says, "Give it to me." So I gave it to him. He threw it in the bin. So he goes, "Come with me." So we went to a different golf course, about a 20-minute drive from Pinehurst, called Pine Valley, which is a great idea, away from the circus. You know, it was just quiet, just him and I on the putting green. We worked for 2 hours, 3 hours on my putting. And then once again, we found this golden nugget, my putting. So going into the week, I was feeling really, really good. I mean, I said to myself, even, okay, top 10 in a major, I'll be happy. Especially from where I had been at the start of the year, missing 5 cuts in a row. And all of a sudden, you know, 6 months later, I'm in the hunt for winning a major. So that's what I love about this game. It can change so quickly, within months, within weeks. It can change very quickly. So, you know, first 2 rounds, I'm doing okay, top 15, top 20. And I said to myself, okay, top 5. So this is the Friday night. So top 5, I said to myself, okay, because I love my cars. I said, if I reach top 5 this week's US Open, I'll buy myself a Porsche. So what I did, I wrote 9-1-1 on my golf ball for the weekend as an incentive. So I was playing a game within the game. You know, I was focusing on the smaller game, which is the Porsche, and then obviously the bigger picture was the US Open. Yeah. So 3rd round, I played nicely again, and now I'm like 7th or 5th or something. So I'm thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. Our Porsche is looking pretty good, but you need to play, you know, 18 holes tomorrow. So I'm in the players' lounge, and Retief is leading by 4 shots. You know, he's defending champion. I kind of said to myself, okay, he's going to win this. You know, I'll probably finish, you know, top 5. I'm 5th. I'm happy. So I was very content with top 5. And then we had lunch together. We were really good mates. We're talking about families and the kids and talking about car seats, about
Yeah.
just normal stuff, as mates do. So I leave and tee off, and he's playing behind me actually. And so I birdied the first hole, and which was a great start. And then after 5 holes or 6 holes, I'm leading, thinking, what happened to Goose? What happened to Retief? He double bogey. So all of a sudden I'm leading by 1-2 shots. And guess who's right behind me is Tiger.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be fun. So I didn't see it as a threat. I saw it as it's fun. It's a fight or flight. You run towards trouble or run away from trouble. And I thought to myself, no, just enjoy the moment. And and the rest is history, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because again, like most New Zealanders, this was happening probably about 10 or 11 in the morning, around that mid morning, and all of a sudden, Michael Campbell hits the lead of the US Open. My goodness, this is happening, and we're all scrambling for TVs. I was at Mount Maunganui at the time, and next thing we're in the ute. We're going to my 2IC's house, and we're all engaged, and we're watching that back 9. And I understand that was pretty much the theme right throughout the country, is that people were coming out of offices and finding somewhere to win. And
because I've had so many stories from a lot of people, friends of mine, complete strangers, kids who now are older. I've met some of the All Blacks who were still at school then. We didn't go to school; they stayed at home because they wanted to watch me play or win the US Open. So I've had so many stories like that. It's wonderful to see that how a sport, any sport, can bring everyone together.
And I guess it was amazing for golf through that period as well. I mean, memberships were spiking, interests were up. Kids wanted to play the sport. It was fantastic. We had someone that was sitting on top of the world, and I guess someone that everyone wanted to aspire towards. So it was a real peak for New Zealand golf, and a culmination, I guess, perhaps of guys like Grant Clements way back, and a whole lot of other individuals that had laid their hands on your career over the time, and there you was. It was you got yourself.
Well, that's the reason why I came back. I came back a month after I won. My manager said to me, "Are you crazy?" And I said, "No, I want to do this." Because I said to him, I want to share my success with my people, and to prove to people, these young kids, if I can do it, so can they. That was the thing. I remember in my speech, I think you probably heard me say that, if I can do it, so can you, sort of thing. And I really meant that. So I spent, I think, 10 days back home in between tournaments. Yeah. I had to rush back to America again, and put together this itinerary around the world, around New Zealand, to go different parts of New Zealand. Went down to Queenstown, through up to Auckland, Titahi Parade, through Wellington, all these wonderful things. And it wasn't for my own publicity. I didn't need that. I wanted to inspire and say to these kids that, if I can do it, so can you. That's simple as that. Yeah. That's the reason why I went back home.
So you're on another one of your peaks, Michael, and I think you're probably off to Wentworth, the World Matchplay Championships, and it's possibly a format of the game that suits you as well. I mean, like we've talked about, your run of birdies that you tend to get on, and you spoke about the 11th hole there at Paraparaumu Beach. But there you go. You dispatch a couple of Aussies, and a couple of pretty handy Aussies as well in those first couple of rounds. Jeff Ogilvy, who was a major winner himself, and Steve Elkington, another major winner. And you come back up against Retief Hussain again in the final.
Yeah, I was once again on that little roll, but I wanted to rewind back to the Tuesday of the event. I'm practicing. My coach is there, Jonathan, and he gave me this little clip article from a newspaper, English newspaper. He goes, "Michael, read this." So I read it, and it said basically, can Campbell be the 4th person in history to win the US Open and World Matchplay in the same year? I don't think so. And it was the last sentence. Can he join? I think he mentioned like Ernie Els, Gary Player, and Jack Nicklaus.
It's pretty handy company.
I don't think so. So this guy just wrote me off, basically, right? So I put that in my yardage book. you know, so every time I opened my yardage book, I saw this article and it got me going, and I never forget that. So anyway, yeah, I played with Teeth in the semi-finals. I've had like I think 10 birdies and 14 holes.
Right.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and won that match and won the final.
So interesting. Retief was coming off like a 9-8 win or a 9-7 win, I think, in the game before, and I think in the semi-final you flipped it and beat him like 7-6. It was pretty convincing.
Yeah, I was pretty determined that day. And even his caddy Colin at the time said to me, Michael, I mean, he said to me from the first tee shot, I knew you were going to beat him. So maybe I gave out that energy of that. Hey, I'm invincible right now. You can't beat me. And then so I went against the final against Paul McGinley. I turned to my caddy at the time, who's a Kiwi from New Plymouth, Michael Waite, Sponge, we call him. Sponge. I said, Sponge, so how much did we win? Because I had no idea. I didn't care. I just wanted to be a part of history, to be the fourth person ever to win the US Open and the World Matchplay in the same year. So,
and I think it was £1 million, I think might have been the reply.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
It was a decent paycheck. Hey, Michael, I just want to come back to Paraparaumu Beach just to finish off here, and I want to turn your attention to perhaps your favourite hole at Paraparaumu Beach, and can you tell us why?
Favourite hole? I love all of them. Yeah. Oh my goodness! I mean, I can't choose. All the par threes are fantastic. That's a tough question.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm going through. I love the second hole par three. Yes, and I love the 16th hole. I love the 17th hole. 11th hole, 10th hole. I can't choose. Yeah, that's nice. Mean. All 18. How's that?
I said to you there was going to be no hooks. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you one late in the piece. Michael, so you're in Spain now. What's and I think you were turning your attention towards seniors golf, perhaps, which.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of semi-retired back in 2014. I wanted to take a break from golf because it's been a huge part of my game, or my life really, for a long time. I wanted to get away from it. Did such golf club for 2 years. I really enjoyed that. I spent more time with my boys. Back in those days, they were like 14 and 15 then. So it was a very important time for me to spend more time with them as a father, reconnect with them. I was going through a divorce as well, so it wasn't great in my personal life situation. But it was a good time for me to reflect, and I decided to start my own golf academy here in southern Spain, and that's still going right now. And now I'm 51, so it's my second year as a senior, and I'm enjoying that. I only played like 6 events last year, but this year's obviously a complete disaster. But I'm looking forward to coming back and playing against my fellow competitors from years back. It's one thing I love about the sport is longevity. Look at if you're a rugby player or tennis player or netballer or whatever. Once you turn 30 or 32, you're done, unless you're Roger Federer. Yeah. But you're done. Whereas in golf, you can keep on playing for a long time, which is fantastic. And you got the seniors events and stuff like that. So, I think it's a great sport. And I just want to say something about, I remember as a kid growing up in Titahi Bay at 13 years old, and I mentioned before about the story about standing up in front of the classroom and announcing what I want to be in the future. I had a very, very strong why. I wanted to prove to the world that Māoris can play golf too, as well as rugby league, other sports. We can play golf as well, and that's a pretty powerful why. Yeah. Wasn't for me. It wasn't for the money. Yes, it was for I played golf and win trophies. It wasn't for money. I've come from a very humble background, as you know, coming from Titahi Bay Golf Course. When I say to people that when I explain to the people how where I grew up and started playing golf, they don't believe me. Fences around the greens, sheep everywhere. Yeah. It's a farm. Literally, it was a farm. but not anymore. It's different now. But
yeah, but it's
and
incredible
then
actually playing around Titahi and looking at it. I mean, it's sneaky good, like the design and when I look at some of those shots that you would have had to have played as a youngster, you know, upsides of those banks that were shaped out by sheep tracks. I mean, you had to play your shots around there. You still do.
well, that's why I think I always favoured the links, because you always with uneven lies, and to me it wasn't. I had to adjust to it. Obviously, the wind as well, because it's always blowing there in Wellington, as you know. Not as much as Paraparaumu, of course, because it's a little bit different up there. But it's it forged me into the player that I am today, for that reason. You know, you had uneven lies all the time, downhill, side hill, all that sort of stuff.
Hey, just a little urban legend that I wouldn't mind clearing up. It involves the first hole there at Titahi. I've been told that you drove the green once. It's a par 5, admittedly downhill, but I mean, it would be 430 or 40 metres probably.
Yeah, I had a 2 as well. I'll hold it.
Oh, you did? Okay. All right, so
But
that's
how
true.
is this? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I've done it a couple of times when I was stronger and younger then. Can't do it now though, but yeah.
Yep. Well, Michael, hey, as a golf club, we're incredibly proud of, and New Zealand is incredibly proud of what you achieved. We're also delighted that some of your history is etched in some of our history, and some of those moments came at Paraparaumu Beach. Thanks so much for taking the time and being part of this interview. And you know, I know your family. I know Tom reasonably well, and I know your family's back here. And I know you'll come back, you know, from time to time, and we would love you to come up the road again to Paraparaumu, and I'd love to stand on that deck and look over the scene of one of your great triumphs. So that's an invitation.
Thanks,
that's an invitation for you.
No, it's been fun to relive those memories. You know, it's been a long time. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews in my career, and it's nice to always, been a little bit older, not quite in my rocking chair yet, but just go through those wonderful memories of your past wins, and the Paraparaumu and New Zealand Open will always be etched up there with one of my favourites, that's for sure.
I look forward to sending you through that YouTube link, and thanks very much once again.
All right, thanks, Leo.